I work at Domino's Pizza, and this is something that happened to me just a few months ago. Many times I work late into the night. Being a popular pizza place, we stay open until 1 a.m. on weeknights and 3 a.m. on weekends. However, we are only open for deliveries during the last 2 hours, so nobody can come inside to order, and there are no carry-out orders during those hours. I work until close all the time, and I don't really mind it because the pay is good. Normally, I work inside the building making pizzas or helping customers. I don't really do deliveries. On this night in particular, it was a Friday night, so I was working until 3 a.m. Generally, we're pretty busy for most of the night on weekends, but things quiet down around midnight significantly. At least at my location they do. During the last couple of hours, it was just me and 2 other coworkers. We handled a few orders, and when it was just after 2 a.m., things got even quieter. I was hanging out in the back with them, and I happened to go to the front of the store to get something and noticed that there was a man standing right outside, looking in the window. That window led to a small parking lot outside. This man was sort of thin, tall, and was just staring. I thought maybe he had tried to come inside, but our door was locked. The guy kept staring in, but then when he saw me, he started banging on the window. And I don't mean just knocking on the window. He was banging on it. One of my coworkers came over and saw the guy. I told him that I would handle the situation and tell the guy that we were only open for deliveries. At that moment, I think we had gotten an order, and my coworker went back to start it. I walked over to the front door. The front door was around the corner to the window that the guy was banging on. I opened the door and then leaned around the corner. I told the guy that we were only open for deliveries and our store was not open. He looked at me and then just walked away. He didn't say anything, but I guess that he got the picture. I went back to help with the order that we had gotten. After it was complete, a driver took it out for delivery. Some more time went by, and it was probably about 2:45 a.m. We were going to be closing very soon and wouldn't take any more orders. That's when I saw the guy again. I saw that he was once again just staring in the window. He didn't bang on the window this time, but he was just staring at me. Wherever I went, he wouldn't take his eyes off me. I walked back to the front door and opened it a crack. I yelled out asking if the guy needed something. He didn't respond. He just kept staring at me. I asked if he was okay, but still got no reply. The guy was acting very strange, and I asked him to stop staring in our windows. The whole time, though, he just stood there looking at me. As I closed the door and went back inside, he kept his eyes on me the whole time. I decided to just ignore him then. He wasn't banging on the glass anymore, and we would be closing now, so I figured he would just go away. I went into the back and helped clean some things up. We closed, and my coworkers left. I was the last person there to finish some things up and then leave. I then left the store maybe 10 minutes after my other coworkers, not that much later at all. I did one last look at the front of the store, and the man was no longer there. Then I left. As I walked out the back door at the Domino's to the parking lot, I got halfway to my car before I heard footsteps. The parking lot was very dark at this time, so I couldn't really see much. I looked over, though, and saw a figure walking towards me. I squinted and realized that it was the same guy who had been staring in the window of the store. He then started to run towards me. We were maybe about 30 feet apart. I then ran for my car and got inside just before the guy reached me. I drove out of there as fast as I could. The guy banged on my car with his fists as I did. I left him standing there in the parking lot, and luckily, after that I didn't see him again. I have no clue who he was or what he wanted with me. Last year, I ordered a pizza from Domino's to my house. I rent the house with one other person, but at the time she was gone. It was nighttime, about 8 p.m. I had ordered online, and about 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my front door. I got up from the couch and answered it. It was the Domino's delivery driver, and he had the pizza in his hand. I took the pizza, gave the guy a tip, and then shut the door. After that, I went back to the couch and turned on a movie. I had a relaxing night of eating pizza and watching movies. When I finally got sleepy, I moved to my bedroom at about midnight. It was a weekend, so I didn't have to be up early the next day or anything. I was just on my phone scrolling through Instagram and snapping some of my friends when I heard some noise from the front of the house. I assumed it was Carly, who was my roommate. Carly and I were not all that close of friends or anything, but we got along well. However, I was never really in the loop of her schedule. She would sometimes spend the night at her family's or get back really late. The sound sounded like a rattling around at the door. This went on for an unusual length of time, though. I thought maybe she had lost her key or something like that, so I got up to go let her in the house. When I got to the front door, though, I looked out just to be sure, and Carly wasn't there. Nobody was there any longer. I did happen to see what appeared to be a man walking through our front yard. I only saw him from the back. He appeared to be going into our next-door neighbor's front yard now. It seemed pretty strange, but I just shook my head and then went back to my room. I continued doing what I had been and planned to get some sleep pretty soon. When I finally turned off my phone a few minutes later and laid down, I almost immediately heard another noise again. This time, though, it wasn't coming from my front door, but instead sounded like the back of the house. We did have a back door, which led into the kitchen. I immediately remembered the man who had seemingly tried to get inside our house earlier. I had a feeling that he was back. But I then heard the sound of our back door opening. I couldn't believe it. The door probably wasn't even locked. I heard footsteps enter the house. My bedroom door was closed but not locked. I ran over and locked it as quickly as I could. The guy was still walking around in the kitchen at this point. Then I heard him start to get closer. I finally came to my senses and realized that I needed to call the police. I grabbed my phone, turned it on, and dialed 911. By the time I had done this, the footsteps were now in the hallway and getting closer. I didn't want the guy to hear me speak, and I tried to whisper as quietly as I could that there was somebody in my house. I didn't bother to listen to anything that the 911 operator had to say, but I gave my address and said somebody was in my house, and then I hung up. I was too concerned about not making any noise. The footsteps were walking around the hallway area and might have gone into Carly's bedroom. Then they got louder and got right outside my bedroom door. The knob then turned but then stopped. At that point, there was a soft knocking on the door. I didn't know what to do. I was all the way in the back of my bedroom, hiding behind my dresser. After knocking several times, whoever was there paused and then knocked again. I then heard him walk out of the hallway. I heard the footsteps in the kitchen, and then the sound of the back door opening and closing. It sounded like the guy had left. I felt some relief, and I knew that I needed to go lock the back door now in case he were to come back. I unlocked my bedroom door and left the room. When I walked into the kitchen, the first thing I saw, though, was the man standing right there. I realized that it was the Domino's delivery driver who had delivered my pizza earlier that night. He was maybe 20 feet away. I ran back from my bedroom, and he followed me. It was the fastest I probably ever moved in my life. I made it back in my room and slammed the door and locked it. He got to the door maybe 2 or 3 seconds later. I was yelling for him to please go away, and he didn't say anything. I believe that he was just standing there right outside my bedroom. Then I heard police sirens. I thought I heard the guy walking away, but it was harder to hear than before because I think he had taken his shoes off. The police got there, but the man was gone. Fortunately, they caught up to him a short time later. It was all very shocking. I realized that the guy made me think he had left by opening and closing the back door so that I would let my guard down. He also took off his shoes so I couldn't hear him walking. I just can't believe that after delivering one pizza to my house, he decided to come back and break in. I used to work as a delivery driver for Domino's a couple of years ago. I had the job for 3 months total, and at first I didn't mind it. I should mention that I'm a female and was about 20 at the time. One night, I delivered a pizza to this one guy's house. He had brown hair and was sort of short. I remember that he was really friendly to me and actually invited me inside. Of course, I said no and accepted his tip and then left. About a week later, I delivered to his house again. He was once again super friendly and basically started a conversation with me that lasted a few minutes. The guy came across as a little bit creepy, to be honest. Overall, it didn't bother me too much though. However, only a few days later, I once again delivered to him. I guess that he just loved to order pizza and also happened to be creepy. But the next night I was told that he ordered a pizza and requested me to be the delivery driver. I didn't really want to deliver to him, but I did. This time he invited me inside again, and when I said no, he asked a second time. It seemed as though he was not getting the hint, and he was being really weird. After that, I left. The next night that I worked, the same thing happened. He ordered a pizza and asked that I delivered it. I said that I really didn't want to deliver there anymore, and we had somebody else go. The guy tried again the next time I worked as well. I was told by my boss that this guy had actually called a couple of times on nights that I wasn't working, asking if I was in, and when told that I wasn't, he hung up. Now, I knew this guy just didn't happen to love pizza. He seemed to want me to keep going to his house. Not long after this, the guy followed me on Instagram. I don't know how he found me, but he did. I guess it probably isn't all that difficult. He sent me a direct message saying hi and asking why I wouldn't deliver pizzas to his house anymore. I didn't need to respond to him, and I just blocked his account. This didn't stop him though. He actually texted me on my cell phone. At first I didn't know it was him, but soon enough I could tell. He started out saying, "Hi, how are you?" I asked who it was, and he said, I really didn't. He then asked me to come over to his house and go inside this time, instead of running back to the pizza place. I knew it was him then, and I texted him that if he didn't leave me alone, I would go to the police immediately. He then started to apologize and asked me not to go to the police. I just blocked the number at that point. I fully expected him to try something else, and I would go to the police if he did, but I actually didn't hear from the man after that. Thankfully, I haven't since.